Well, got my gigantic tablet, looking hella silly, walking around with this big ass fucking book in my hand. But this was one of these things that I was sitting back thinking, yeah, it's about time. And I was reading something on Revolver about this. So one of the things that has to be understood by the GOP, the transgender thing, the LGBTQ thing, all of this is the battle. This is it. This is it. This is where you crush the head of the snake when it comes to you see, because at local levels, crime, which is the whole BLM issue, black people, black bastardy, and the results of black bastardy, and Democrats not punishing criminal blacks. That's the entire BLM crime, all that is just nothing more than that. That's easily solved at the local level by just punishing criminals. What the big deal is crushing the head of the snake, and that's the crazy people. The GOP has a big problem. They can't face that being the religious fervor of like the kind of poor, wild-eyed American Christian types that they're associated with, which many GOP members really see them as poor, dirty white trash with like enough money to clean up and buy a Ford F-150 in a ranch home. But they don't really respect them. You see, I respect that these people actually are bearing witness, very personal witness, to a relationship with God that has made them live a certain way, think certain things, and I like that. Their way is their way, and they're not burning things down. Most importantly, and that's one of the most important things about this, is there could not have been the amount of riots without crazy white leftists and liberals participating. This is the issue the GOP has. At some point, they have to become the party that looks at white women and says, "You failed. Your kid is a nut job and needs to be put on drugs," or we need to ostracize your crotch fruit. Now, I'm saying this in a way that's kind of cruel and a bit mean because I can. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. You all need to know I have the vote. And I have a whole lot of people who will vote the way I say they should. Because they agree with me. And I've been calling what gives the GOP success for a bit of time. And when the GOP succeeds, it means Donovan succeeds and gets what he wants. My interests are mine, and I could respect that. And the preservation of the Republic is one of the key aspects of this. And you can't preserve the Republic without recognition that there are only males and females, and that anything else has no evidence for it. There is no evidence that there is a third gender. This needs to be stated outright. Absolutely outright. The GOP needs to start dealing with genomics, the actual genetics and the field of genetics. You have to do this. And the reason why they don't is because then maybe the religious kooks will turn on us. And no. You stop living according to fear. You live according to what you are supposed to do. You're supposed to say there is no genetic evidence, there is nothing in human development, there is no science behind third and fourth and fifth genders, there's no gender plus. And then they need to say it. GenderSexuals tend to be people with other disorders of the personality, with other mental problems, with other issues, with a wide variety of psychological and cognitive issues. So this needs to be taken into account that these people might be a little more likely to be crazy and unstable. That's why they burn things down. That's why they show up to people's houses and assault them and stuff like that. Until you say this, you can't, that's it. You have to name the demon. No, you are more likely to be crazy people. And you have to say that. Like, no, Democrats tend to be violent, crazy, and lazy. The progressives, violent, crazy, and lazy. The leftists, violent, crazy, and lazy. It's if we want the republic to be maintained because only good people who believe in fair play, working hard, and their ethnic traditions, their traditional way of life. We're good people. You people are crazy. You're out of your minds. That's why you can't. That's why you won't convince anybody of your ideas through rational discourse, because you're not rational. You can't convince people who are rational of your ideas. You can only convince young people with very little world experience and other crazy people of your ideas. Without the GOP saying this, without them constantly, fundamentally beating Democrats up by saying that, and what this is you're saying they're inferior. And you have to. But the best thing is to name the fault. What is it that about them? And say, well, no, it's the lack of rationality. It's the, you can name specific things, but it's fundamentally, don't worry, the young right knows. And this is 40 and younger. We've come to face this. It's that there's a bunch of boomer types and older Gen X types, and they can't really handle that kind of talk. It's rude. You shouldn't say things like that. Oh, whoops. Okay. Let's just check on something. Fucking sweet. Alright. But that's what has to be said. And it has to be also said, and because everybody has a cross to bear, that is why we have to do that which is good for as many of our fellow citizens as possible, no matter who they are, what they suffer from. And so, but it has to be said, no, these are obviously people who have serious psychological issues. That this is, and the activists are people who are dishonest and have serious psychological issues. This is not something, because the reason why this has to be done is you have to make the people who are left of center prove that they're sane. That's the beauty of this. This is the whole reason for this strategy. And there's going to be a lot of people who are like, that's fucked up. Just saying that people who are gendersexual are crazy. And it's like, no. They have a much higher propensity toward abuse of substances, toward just having some kind of other personality disorders, having a history of being medicated for personality issues. It's just, this isn't a make-believe. This isn't make-believe at all. This isn't a joke. And once you're around people like this enough that you realize, like, no, this has to be addressed. The fact that so many of this, that we're bending over backwards for this super tiny, infinitesimally small minority, that the only way it seems to come into existence is by molestation of children. And that's overwhelming. That's totally genuine. That's absolutely and totally genuine by self-admission from within the community. They are something like 3 or 8 times more likely to have been molested or assaulted as children than groups that aren't, and then people who aren't. So people who are straight, when they answer this question, if you have 10 of them, there's 3 of them who say, yeah, somebody did something weird to me as a kid. When you start talking to gay people, this becomes that there's 3 out of 10 who didn't. That they're like, no, my upbringing was totally normal. Nobody ever did anything to me. There's some inordinately high likelihood of, like, of drug abuse, child neglect, the mom being a nut job. It's just a whole bunch of this stuff, and then molestation. Until the GOP deals with this, they haven't, and they're going to, because, well, I think a lot of us are going to have to force them to deal with it. Shall we play a game